My husband didn't invite his parents to the wedding, but my in-laws stormed in on my wedding day. My mother-in-law shouted at me, "You dishwasher, how did you come into my son's life?" She also insulted my family. I felt embarrassed and asked her to stop speaking. In her anger, she approached me and pulled my hair hard, causing me to drop to the floor. Everyone was shocked. My husband came forward, pulled my mother-in-law back, and asked her to leave the event. I decided to take revenge with the help of my friend. The very next day, I gave them a shocking surprise. My name is Anna Walker, and this is the story of my life, one filled with love, betrayal, and the fight for justice. I'm 29 years old, a law student, but not long ago, I was just a dishwasher at a local restaurant in Seattle, Washington. I never thought I would find love in such an ordinary place, but that's exactly where my story begins. It was a rainy afternoon when Ethan Brooks walked into the diner for the first time. I had been scrubbing dishes in the back, trying to drown out the sounds of clattering plates and the sizzling grill. But when I stepped out to refill a coffee pot, I saw him. Ethan was tall, with dark hair and an easy smile that could light up the dreariest of days. I felt a strange warmth rush over me, an unexpected flutter in my stomach. "Can I get you anything?" I asked, trying to sound professional, but my voice wavered slightly. "Just coffee for now." "Black, please," he replied, looking straight into my eyes. "And maybe your number if you're not too busy." I laughed at his boldness, my cheeks flushing. "Sorry, I don't give my number to customers. Company policy." "Is that so? Well, I'll just have to come back every day until you change your mind," he grinned. And that's precisely what he did. He came in every single day, for 2 weeks. At first, it was just coffee and light conversation. He was charming, asking about my life, and I found myself looking forward to our chats. There was something special about him, something that made me feel seen. Finally, after 2 weeks of his persistent charm, I agreed to go out with him. "Fine," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. "One date, but don't get your hopes up, Mr. Brooks." That one date turned into 6 months of pure bliss. We spent countless evenings laughing over cheap takeout, going for walks by the waterfront, and dreaming about the future. Ethan was different from anyone I had ever met. He saw beyond my job as a dishwasher. He appreciated me for who I was, not for my circumstances. But as our relationship deepened, I began to worry about what would happen when he introduced me to his family. Ethan came from wealth, and I worried his parents would look down on me because of my job and my modest background. "What if they don't like me?" I asked him one evening as we sat on the couch, watching the rain pour outside. "They'll love you. They just need to get to know you," he assured me, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. One evening, just after we celebrated our 6-month anniversary, Ethan surprised me with a proposal. He took me to our favorite spot by the waterfront, where the moonlight danced on the water's surface. "Anna," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "will you marry me?" I was speechless. Tears filled my eyes as I nodded, barely able to breathe. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." As we began planning our wedding, I was excited yet anxious about meeting his parents, Henry and Catherine Brooks. I knew they owned a successful import-export business, but what I didn't know was how harsh their judgment would be. The day finally came when I was introduced to them. We gathered at a lavish restaurant, and as soon as I walked in, I felt small. The Brooks family was everything I wasn't: wealthy, polished, and powerful. Henry was imposing, with a stern expression, while Catherine was all sharp elegance, her eyes scanning me like I was a specimen under a microscope. "Ethan tells us you're a dishwasher?" Catherine asked, her voice dripping with condescension. "Yes," I replied, trying to stand tall. "I work at the diner while I finish my law degree." "Law degrees?" Henry scoffed. "That's quite ambitious for someone in your position." I could feel my heart pounding. "I'm determined to make something of myself," I said, trying to hold my ground. But it only got worse from there. The dinner was filled with thinly veiled insults and judgmental glances. Afterward, as we walked out, I turned to Ethan. "They don't like me," I whispered, my heart sinking. "It doesn't matter. I love you, Anna." "That's all that counts," he replied, but I could sense his tension. However, the situation escalated quickly. Ethan and I decided to have a small wedding, just close friends, no family. I was relieved, but also nervous about what would happen if his parents found out. On the day of our wedding, just as I was about to walk down the aisle, the doors burst open. There stood Henry and Catherine, their faces filled with fury. "What are you doing?" Henry shouted, shocking everyone into silence. Catherine stepped forward, her voice cold as ice. "You can't marry her, Ethan. She's a gold digger. Just look at her." I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation. "Please, just let us have our day," I begged, trying to maintain my composure. But Catherine didn't stop. "You think this poor girl can make you happy? She'll only drag you down." As I stood there, my heart racing, I felt tears prick my eyes. I tried to speak up, to defend myself, but before I could say anything, Catherine lunged at me. She pulled my hair hard, and I fell to the ground, completely mortified as gasps filled the room. Ethan surged forward, anger blazing in his eyes. "Get away from her," he shouted, pulling his mother back. "You have no right to treat her like this." In that moment, I realized how serious the situation had become. My wedding day, which was supposed to be filled with joy, had turned into a battleground. And as Henry and Catherine stormed out, leaving us all in shock, I felt a mix of anger and devastation wash over me. The wedding ceremony had been ruined, but I refused to let them have the last word. My heart hardened. I would not let this humiliation define me. It was time to take a stand against the Brooks family and show them that I was more than just a dishwasher. I was determined to reclaim my dignity, no matter the cost. After the disaster that was my wedding day, everything felt shattered. Ethan and I had to pick up the pieces of our relationship, but I could sense a change in him. The humiliation of what happened lingered in the air between us, and though we tried to move forward, it wasn't easy. That night, as we returned home, I could see the worry etched on Ethan's face. "I'm so sorry, Anna. I never thought they would show up like that," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "It's not your fault," I replied, though my heart ached with embarrassment. "But I can't just forget what happened. They think I'm nothing because of my job and background." Ethan took my hands, his grip firm. "You are so much more than that. I love you for who you are, not what you do. We'll figure this out together." Despite his reassurance, I couldn't shake the anger bubbling inside me. I had been pushed to the ground in front of everyone, and my dignity had been stripped away. I needed to do something. I needed to make them pay for the way they treated me. In the days following the wedding, I reached out to Mason Grant, an old friend from law school. He had always been supportive of my ambitions, and I knew he would understand the fire burning within me. "Anna, it's been too long," Mason said when we met at a coffee shop. "What's going on? You look like you've been through a war." I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "Mason, I need your help. Ethan's parents publicly humiliated me at our wedding. I want to expose their hypocrisy. I want to show everyone who they really are." He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" I explained my plan to investigate Henry and Catherine's import-export business. I had heard whispers of shady dealings, but I needed concrete evidence. "I want to show the world that their wealth comes from illegal activities," I said, my determination shining through. Mason nodded, his expression serious. "I can help with that. Let's gather some information and see what we can find." For weeks, we dug into the Brooks family's business. I spent my evenings researching and compiling data while Mason made connections in the industry. We discovered that the Brooks business was not as pristine as they claimed. Rumors of unregistered exports and tax evasion circulated, but we needed proof. One afternoon, while going through public records, Mason stumbled upon a critical piece of information. "Anna, look at this," he exclaimed, pointing to his laptop screen. "They've been under investigation for potential tax fraud. If we can gather enough evidence, we could bring them down." Excitement and fear flooded my veins. "This is it, Mason. We have to dig deeper." As we continued our investigation, I felt a sense of empowerment growing within me. I was no longer the shy girl working at a diner. I was a woman on a mission, determined to reclaim my dignity and fight back against the prejudice I faced. Each piece of evidence we collected became a stepping stone towards justice. Meanwhile, Ethan was supportive but worried about the risks. Anna, I love your passion, but are you sure you want to do this? It could blow up in your face, he cautioned one evening. I have to do this, Ethan. I can't let them get away with treating me like I'm worthless, I replied, my voice steady. He nodded, though I could see the concern in his eyes. Just be careful. I don't want to lose you in this fight. Weeks turned into months as we meticulously built our case against the Brooks family. I pored over documents, analyzed financial records, and even interviewed former employees who had left under suspicious circumstances. With every new piece of information, my resolve strengthened. I felt like a warrior preparing for battle. Then, just when I thought we had enough evidence to act, we hit a snag. Mason called me one night, his voice tense. Anna, I just heard some unsettling news. The Brooks family is aware that someone is digging into their business. They're not going to let this go quietly. My heart raced. What do you mean? They've been looking for information about you. They might try to intimidate you or worse, he warned. Fear gripped me, but I refused to back down. Let them come. I won't be scared into silence. As the days passed, I realized that the fight wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about standing up for myself, proving my worth, and showing the world that I wouldn't be a victim. I had risen from being a dishwasher to someone who could take on powerful adversaries. And with Ethan by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. But I knew we were entering dangerous territory. The Brooks family was powerful, and I was just a woman with a dream. Little did I know, the confrontation that awaited me would change everything. The tension in the air was palpable as Mason and I prepared to take the next step against the Brooks family. We had gathered substantial evidence against Henry and Catherine's import-export business, but I knew we needed to act carefully. The stakes were high, and I could feel the weight of our plan bearing down on me. Anna, are you sure you're ready for this? Mason asked one evening as we sat in my small apartment, documents sprawled across the table like a battlefield map. I have to be, I replied, my determination unwavering. I won't let them continue to ruin lives with their illegal dealings. It's time to expose them for who they really are. Mason nodded, though his brow furrowed with concern. Okay, let's make sure we have everything in place. Once we go public, there's no turning back. With our plan set, we decided to approach a local news station that had a reputation for investigative reporting. We met with Samantha Reed, a seasoned journalist known for her fierce dedication to uncovering the truth. As we sat in a small conference room, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Tell me everything, Samantha said, her pen poised above her notepad. I took a deep breath and began recounting the events leading up to our investigation, the humiliation at my wedding, the Brooks family's disdain for my background, and our discoveries about their illegal operations. I shared every detail, showing her the evidence we had collected, financial records, testimonies from former employees, and the research Mason had painstakingly compiled. Samantha listened intently, her eyes widening as the pieces fell into place. This is serious, she said, her voice steady. If what you say is true, I can help you expose them. We'll set up a detailed report and get this story out to the public. A surge of adrenaline coursed through me. For the first time since the wedding disaster, I felt empowered. With Samantha's help, we would reveal the truth, not just for my sake, but for all the people who had suffered under the Brooks family's shady dealings. Over the next few weeks, we worked tirelessly with the news station. The closer we got to the story breaking, the more I could sense the Brooks family's looming threat. My phone buzzed with notifications about new rumors spreading online, tales of my so-called gold-digging past resurfacing as if to undermine my credibility. Anna, they're trying to discredit you, Mason said one day, looking concerned as he scrolled through social media. We need to be ready for backlash. I'm not going to let them intimidate me, I replied firmly. This fight is about more than just us now. It's about showing everyone that they can't get away with this. The day finally arrived when Samantha's report was set to air. I sat in my living room, heart racing as I watched the news. The screen flickered to life, and there was Samantha, poised and professional. Tonight, We expose a local family accused of illegal activities in their business dealings, she announced, and my heart leaped. As she detailed our findings, I felt a mixture of pride and fear. This was it. We were pulling back the curtain on the Brooks family, shining a light on their dark secrets. But then, just as I thought I was ready for anything, the phone rang. It was Ethan. "Anna, you need to come home right now." "It's urgent," he said, his voice strained. "What's wrong?" I asked, panic rising in my chest. "Just come home. Please," he urged. I rushed back to our apartment, fear coursing through me. As I entered, I found Ethan pacing, his face pale. "What's going on?" I demanded. "It's about my parents," he said, running a hand through his hair. "They've been watching you. They're furious about the report." Before I could respond, there was a loud knock on the door. My heart raced as I exchanged worried glances with Ethan. "Who is it?" I called out, my voice shaking. "It's the police," came a voice from the other side. "We need to speak with you." Suddenly, all my fears coalesced into a single thought. The Brooks family wouldn't let this go without a fight. As I opened the door, I braced myself for the confrontation that was about to unfold, knowing that the battle was far from over. As I opened the door, 2 police officers stood before me, their expressions serious. "Ms. Walker," one of them asked, "we need to discuss some allegations related to your investigation into the Brooks family." Ethan stepped forward, concern etched on his face. "What kind of allegations?" he demanded. "Can we come inside?" the officer replied, glancing at the hallway. I nodded, heart racing as I led them into our living room. The weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We received an anonymous tip claiming that you and your friend may have fabricated evidence against the Brooks family," the officer explained, watching my reaction closely. I felt a surge of anger. "That's absurd. Everything we've uncovered is legitimate. We've been following the law, and we have evidence to prove it." The officer raised a hand. "We're not accusing you of anything yet, but we need to verify the claims. We'd like to see the evidence you've gathered." Ethan looked at me, his eyes filled with worry. "Anna, they're trying to turn this around on you. They're scared." I took a deep breath, channeling my determination. "I won't let them intimidate us. They may have power and money, but I have the truth on my side." After the officers left, I turned to Ethan, whose anxiety mirrored my own. "We can't back down now. We need to gather our evidence and be prepared for anything." We spent the next few days compiling every document, testimony, and piece of information we had gathered. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications, threats from anonymous accounts attempting to intimidate me further. I refused to let fear take hold. Finally, the day arrived when the police returned for our evidence. We presented everything meticulously, showing them financial records, testimonies from former employees, and documentation of their illegal dealings. With each piece of evidence, I could feel my heart racing, a mixture of dread and determination. After reviewing the files, the officers left with a promise to investigate the claims against the Brooks family thoroughly. I knew we had taken a crucial step, but the battle wasn't over. The Brooks family was still powerful, and I needed to be ready for their retaliation. That night, I called Mason. "I need your help. I feel like they're going to strike back soon," I confessed. "We'll stay ahead of them." "You're not alone in this fight," Mason assured me. His support was a reminder that I had allies who believed in me. The following weeks felt like a tense waiting game. Then, out of the blue, a breakthrough came. Samantha reached out to tell me that her investigation had gained traction. The news of the police investigation into the Brooks family had leaked, and suddenly, their empire was under scrutiny. As the media began to cover the story, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. People began to rally behind me, voicing their support on social media, sharing their own stories of struggle against injustice. I was no longer just a victim. I was a symbol of resilience. In the end, the Brooks family was called to answer for their actions. Henry and Catherine were arrested on multiple charges, including tax fraud and illegal exports. As news of their downfall spread, I felt a sense of justice wash over me. I had fought back against the prejudices and betrayals that had tried to define me. Through it all, Ethan stood by my side, stronger than ever. "You did this, Santa. You stood up and fought for what was right," he said one evening, pulling me close. "Together," I replied, knowing that love and support had been the foundation of my strength. I had gone from being a dishwasher to someone who took on powerful adversaries. I had not only reclaimed my dignity, but also carved a path for my future. I graduated law school with honors and began working as an advocate for others who faced similar injustices. As I stood at the podium during my graduation ceremony, delivering a speech about resilience and justice, I knew my journey was just beginning. The fight against societal prejudice wasn't over, but I was ready to face it head-on, proving that one's worth isn't determined by background or wealth, but by integrity, loyalty, and the courage to stand up for oneself. And so, my story continues, with hope, strength, and the unwavering belief that love can conquer even the darkest of challenges.